Hi, this is Jodie Blackshaw. Hello! Oh gosh, I wish I was coming to visit you in Minnesota, but this will just have to be our second best effort, won't it, to connect. Hello! Thank you so much for this opportunity to write a piece for John. I feel so blessed. My time in Minnesota, I visited 3 or 4 times to your beautiful state, and I've had wonderful, wonderful interactions with all the people that I have met there. From St. Olaf right through to Craig Kirkhoff, right through to dealing with various different music educators in the state, not to mention John and his team of teachers at Rosemount Middle School when they premiered Letter from Sardo. So it's not surprising to me that I started writing this piece and I listened to all this Tower of Power, and I really thought that I was going to be writing this cracking dance. And then I did something that maybe I shouldn't have, but I tend to do it anyway. I did some research on the main figure that I was basing this piece around. He's a very controversial figure here in Australia, Ned Kelly. And there's lots of controversy about his life and what he stood for and what he did. So I did some of my own research and I discovered a very sad story. I've since spoken to various historians and various friends and colleagues who are Ned Kelly buffs, and there is a great deal of agreement that it is a very sad story. And so it no longer seemed appropriate to maybe perpetuate a myth around a character who was hung in 1880, over 150, nearly 150 years ago. So I was listening to various things, and something that came onto my radar once again very happily that I hadn't listened to for many years was the Fauré Requiem. And I was really inspired by Fauré's approach to the Requiem, and that he removed the Dies Irae and he added the In Paradisium. I also really loved that his scoring, I don't know if you know the piece, but there's only one solo violin. It's nearly all violas and cellos, double basses. I think there's a solo oboe, solo horn. But what I really loved about that was this humility, even in right down to the instrumentation. And Fauré lost both of his parents during the 15 years or so that he kept tinkering with his Requiem. And he had this idea of a beautiful death. And that there is beauty in death, there is rest in death. Requiem means rest. Requiem aeternum is eternal rest. And rather than having all this fear-mongering around death, he wanted to leave the world with his idea of this beauty in death. And when I thought about the storm that surrounded Ned Kelly right up until he was hanged, I just thought there was no beauty in his death. And the way his body was treated, the way he became this trophy, and there's all this conjecture about, why that happened and how it happened and whether he was innocent or not. Regardless, he's a tortured soul, and he's a tortured soul that is not at rest. And then I started to think about what is happening in many, many different parts of the globe. And I'm not trying to be political here, but there's a lot of pain and suffering happening for a lot of very innocent people caught in the crossfire at the moment. And I felt like I wanted to put something out into the universe that was my offering to try and help these people who did not have a beautiful death, and to potentially put their souls at rest. Because that seemed to be the right thing to do right now, for John, for your community, for all Americans, for all people in the world. So I turned to this book that I've had for some time, called The Songs of Love and Life. I've had this for quite a number of years now, and I just didn't know when I was going to use it. And they were published in 1917 by an Australian female author, Zora Cross, and they were held in the back pockets by Australian soldiers at the front in World War One, and they quoted them uh, um, as they wrote home to their wives and sweethearts. These words spoke to a lot of people, a lot of men who were facing death. And to my surprise, when a very favourite book collector found this book for me, it turned up pressed with four-leaf clovers in the pages. And I decided it needed to be used for something very special indeed. And this is the project. So, where silence echoes, I want to tell you about this picture that's on the front cover. I took this photo, and it's taken in the southwest of New South Wales, right near the border of Victoria, where Ned Kelly was from. In fact, Ned Kelly, there was a very famous siege of his in a place called Jerilderie, a really little town. And this is taken at Jerilderie. This photo, these clouds are taken at Jerilderie. And for me, it is just this rising of a soul in back up into the heavens. So the work itself is very delicate. I want you to think about all of your approach to your playing being humble, being warm, being full, being rounded, and being generous. But I want you to approach dynamics lightly. I want you to approach your attack to your instrument gently. If the word blend is written on your music, I don't want to hear your entry. I want it to emerge. Think morphing. Think of my music as a woven set of textures, all sorts of different threads of different kinds and styles and colours and thicknesses and densities, all mixed together. And anything that comes out as a melodic line is an extension of what is going on underneath. So if I've written solo on the part, yes, that means I want one player to perform that particular part, but it also means that you're the most prominent line in the music. So that's where I want you to really sort of think about yourself as having a role, not having a starring moment, but having a leading moment. Inside the work itself, because it started its life as a choral piece, what I want you to really think about is that the accompanying band, you are an accompaniment. You are something there that flourishes, bolsters, enhances, enriches. But it may be not like other band pieces where, the clarinets have the main bit now, and now the flutes have the main bit, and now it's in the trumpets. It really is a very evenly tempered textural work. For our brass quintet soloists, your parts again might not be the usual concerto grosso. Oh, it's time for the brass quintet to appear. Now it's time for the band to appear. You are morphed together as two instruments, and the brass quintet is an extension of the ensemble. You are lead players, you are highlighted players, and you are working to lift the ensemble in nearly every possible way at every possible time. I do encourage the percussionists, please watch that YouTube clip by Stephen Saluk on bowing vibraphones. It is gold. It is really great information. I really encourage you to watch that and really practice bowing. Don't just do it once and think, that'll do. Be really dedicated to getting the best resonance you can possibly achieve out of the instrument. and see how much you can improve on that, and what happens over time as you improve your technique. To where we stage everything and how we put everything together. Really consider the balance with those vibraphones and really allow them to resonate and really give space to the work. There's a whole section in the conductor's notes about space and how growing up in Australia, a very large land mass of a country with a very small population, and how much this enormous space around me as a child and now as an adult, because I still live in a country town, how important that is to me and my compositional voice and in the interpretation of my music. One last thing I ask of you, dear band, is that in the performance of this piece, I want you to think about your own stillness. If there's a lot of fussing and fluttering in the band, the audience won't settle with the music. And the music demands that the audience become heavily invested in what is happening in real time, really living in the now. That's what this piece is asking. So you can really encourage that from your audience by being incredibly invested in your playing and incredibly still and centered when you're not. I think I've said enough. Please rewatch, please listen. There's a lot to share. I've only just finished this work, and so it's all around me. Interestingly, when I finish a work, I have different kinds of emotions. It always surprises me. And when I finished this work, I cried. And I've been trying to process that and trying to work out what that means. And I think it's because I'm so proud of it, but I'm also so proud that it's going to be performed by you. And I'm so glad that I get to share this in some small way with you, because regardless what barriers are being put up by others at the moment, we can still make music together, even on other sides of the planet. Love you, bless you, thank you. I can't wait to hear your notes. Bye.